This is the other way, well, there are several ways to do a tubular cast on, but in this one you don't need a chain of a different color, different yarn provision that you can take out. In this one you just cast on directly onto your needle, and you have the yarn, the loose end of the yarn on your thumb and the working yarn on your finger, and this tail should be about 3 times longer than you want the cast on to be. First step is I go in and I catch my needle, catch my yarn on my needle so that it looks like this, and then I go under the yarn over my thumb, and then I go under the yarn on my forefinger and I catch it. And if you notice, that looks kind of like a knit stitch. Okay? Now, to do the next one, I go under both, I catch the one on my thumb, and then I bring it under this yarn. And if you notice, that looks kind of like a pearl. So I go under, and catch, then I go under them both, catch, under, catch, under them both, and catch, under, and then under both and catch. Now I want to end with what looks like a pearl on one end and a pearl on the other end if I'm doing this flat, because those are my selvage stitches. Now I turn my work and notice that I don't really seem to have much of a stitch here to work with. What I do is I bring that loose yarn tail back behind, and I have my working yarn on top, and then I knit into that first stitch. Okay, and I kind of pull that snug. And then, as with the other method for tubular cast on, I slip the stitch purlwise, I do a yarn over. I knit the next stitch, I slip the stitch purlwise, have my yarn in front, knit, and I just continue on doing this. Now, as with the other ways, you generally want to do this with a smaller needle, because otherwise it's going to be kind of loose and gloppy if you don't. And then I knit that last stitch. Okay, now I turn and I do the same thing, but this is my selvage stitch, which is a purl, so I'm going to purl it. Then I've got my knit stitch, slip my purl with yarn in front, knit, yarn in front, slip, knit, slip, knit, and then purl. And I just continue to do that, either for 2 or 4 times to get it as rounded as I want. And then knit. I'll do one more. Purl. And again, if I were doing this in the round, I wouldn't need those selvage stitches, and I would alternate. On one side, on one round, I would be slipping the purl and knitting the knit, and then on the next row, because I'm working in the round and I need to reverse that out, I would be working the purl stitches and slipping the knit stitches. Well, when you've done that and you're ready, you just work it as normal. And I would do this row with the smaller size needles too, and not switch until I was done. And if you can compare to the other method, it looks pretty much the same, except that you don't have to worry about getting that crochet chain out of there. Now, the one disadvantage of this is that if you've got a lot of stitches that you're casting on, those edges, hey George, those stitches can get kind of loose and you wind up with some excess yarn. At least that's what I found. And there are a couple of other techniques for doing tubular cast-ons, but I'm going to let you discover those on your own. This is enough to get you through. Hey George.